Yes.
Edit something that they don't have access to.
Good evening, everybody. I am Vice Chair Sticks, calling to order the Newcastle Activities Commission meeting of June 14th, 2023. The time is 7:01. This public meeting is being recorded and may be viewed later on the city's YouTube channel. Would you all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we do roll call, I would like to introduce Jane Westman, who's our new city clerk / HR director. Jane, welcome.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And I guess sitting next to Jane is a face that we all know. Deb Polson is our new events coordinator, and we are honored to have Deb leading the pack there, so thank you, Deb. Okay, Jane, you want to do roll call, please?
Commissioner Sticks.
Present?
Commissioner Van Atta.
Present.
Commissioner De Souza.
Present.
Commissioner George.
Present.
And Commissioner Flash.
Present.
Thank you. Is there an objection to approval of tonight's agenda as presented? Okay, if not, we will show the final agenda approved as presented. Approval of minutes. So hopefully you guys had a chance to review our minutes of March 29th. Is there any objection to the approval of the minutes of March 29th as presented? There is none, so thank you. We'll show the minutes approved as presented. At our July meeting, we will have our minutes from both our May and June meetings to review. Public comment. Do we have anybody online who would like to do public comment at this time? Nope. Thank you. Our favorite time of the evening, Commissioner comments and celebrations. Why don't we begin with you, Commissioner Flash?
I'm just looking forward to the summer coming up. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Commissioner George?
I would like to offer my congratulations to all the graduates in our community at every level. I want to give a very special shout out to the Hazen High School seniors who are graduating as we speak. Yay! And also to our Liberty High School seniors who will be graduating tomorrow afternoon.
Commissioner De Souza?
I am just excited. There's one more week of school left and summer vacation.
I'm looking to see if there's little faces out there smiling about that. Commissioner Van Atta?
Next week is not the last week of school for me. I will remind you that I go until June 30th this year. Anyway, I want to say thank you to all the council members and city manager and the directors who were at the town hall meeting last week, and commissioners also. It was great to see everyone and hear the voices of our community that are not always heard, or sometimes always heard, but to hear the diverse voices and get a chance to talk about what matters in our community.
Thank you, and I will just echo everything everybody's said, and just excited to actually have almost a full room here tonight of not only the staff to support us, but also almost a full staff of commissioners. So we will next month, and that's exciting. Okay, next segment, reports. Community events report. We'll turn it over to you, Deb.
All right, cool. So you guys have an update in your packet. Let me just review it really quickly. So the fireworks on the lake is going really well for July 1st. Fireworks vendor has been booked, and he has about a 17-minute show. It sounds pretty cool. He's going to have like a mini ending, a minute pause, and then a great big ending. So look for that. The band will be Soul Siren, and they're excited to come. The AV support is booked. The food trucks. We have a great variety of food trucks this year. We have 7 food vendors, 2 trucks, and 5 vendors. Look for information on social media starting next week for that. Kate's going to put that out there. And then the banner on Coal Creek, I didn't drive by to see if it's up, but it should have gone up today. Is it?
It is, it's up.
Awesome, that's great. So starting at 6 o'clock, we're going to have the food trucks. From 8 to 10, Soul Siren will play. At 10 o'clock, the fireworks show will start. And then the Boy Scouts are going to be selling glow sticks for all the kids, so that's fun. We're going to have a push the plunger event, which will be fun. That's like last year. They'll push the plunger and get a little tiny shock, and then the fireworks will start. It's not hooked up to the fireworks, but it simulates the experience for the person pushing it. And then the Boy Scouts are also going to help with the traffic, getting people out of the park. So if you guys see them, tell them thanks, because that's a great big help. What I'm wondering is, anybody going to be there, and are you guys, anybody available to work the booth for an hour or 2 that night? Sure.
I can.
Okay. I will put you down, then we'll be in touch with you about that. Are you going to be at the arts booth? They'll be next door to each other? Okay. Cool. And then I just wanted to point out the beautiful flyers that Shaylee did for the concerts, fireworks, and the fireworks. So these were made for the town hall last week, and they are being posted around town right now. On the fireworks one, just made a few changes to that, so you guys have an old copy. I can't get the printer to go right now, so I'll print you guys some updated ones afterwards. Any questions on fireworks? The fireworks show? So no, they're not going to stop serving. What we're telling them is the food trucks, they can't leave until after the traffic is reduced enough that it's not dangerous for them to pull out. The other vendors with tables, when they run out of food, if they want to leave, as long as they don't drive a car into the park, they can leave. They need to carry all their stuff out. Okay, so Kate, I talked to Kate a little bit about this, and she said in her experience, the food vendors are there as long as people are buying food. So they're usually the last ones there. So summer concerts, all the bands are booked, and you can see who's booked there. Eagles is a repeat band, but the other 3 are brand new to us. Super exciting. We have a CCR tribute. This was a recommendation, I believe, by Alexa. She saw them play in Smamish, and their videos look amazing. The Eagles tribute is a repeat band from previous years. Main Street Band, this is the same guy that's from Cherry Cherry, but he does a Bob Seger tribute. And I've actually wanted to invite these guys for a long time. They look fabulous online. And then Seattle Gold Classic Hits, they do hits from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, mostly 70s. Bands like Chicago, Michael Bublé, who's the I Will Survive lady, stuff like that. So yeah, that's what you're going to hear. And they're actually good. We'll get our food trucks from Culinex, so they'll start sending us all the information. Last year it was just like 2 weeks before the event, but it wasn't a problem. He always had a great list for us. But just FYI, in case you guys didn't know, the Ezel's food truck went out of business. I'm so sad about that. Not the storefronts, just the food trucks. So the schedule, the concerts will be from 7 to 8:30 on Wednesday night, starting on the 26th of July. I'm going to pass this around, and we'll bring it at the next meeting too. I'm asking for volunteers like we used to do for the CAC City booth. So if you guys wouldn't mind picking a date, that would be great. And then again, Shelley, I think you did just such a beautiful job on this poster. It looks really amazing.
So one thing, Deb, I was thinking about with these signups for both the concerts and for Newcastle Days is in July, at our July meeting, we'll have a full commission.
Okay.
So we'll actually have 2 additional commissioners that maybe if there's any vacancies on here, we can get those folks.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. All right, and then as far as Newcastle Days, Amy's going to give a great update a little later, so I'm going to breeze over the top of it really quickly. But the car show is in full swing. We got our first 2 registrations this week. The website is updated. The sponsors are finalized. The poster is done. The MC for Newcastle Days right now is Ed Lance Lambert. And we'll work to see if we want him there all day or part of the day or just for the car show. The band is Cherry Cherry, so I think our community loves Cherry Cherry, so that's pretty exciting. The activities, we have the same activities as last year: inflatables, junk chime, pony rides, petting zoos, stage performers. The stage performers are really full this year, so that's really cool. And then we'll have the vendor booths. And again, same deal with the food trucks. We'll figure out who they are real close to the event. So I just have a high level schedule there. The change on this is that the band is going to play from 5:30 to 7 instead of 6 to 7. And then the last thing I wanted to bring up is, as a commission, since I've been here, it's been what, 5-6 years now, we've never had threat training. So Officer Treadway has a long threat training, but he also has a condensed version. It's 2 hours. So he's not going to be here in July, but if you guys are interested, we could potentially bring in Officer Treadway to our August meeting to do threat training, and that's a bad actor, what to do in case of an active shooter, mental instability person at one of our events. And he could go through the 2-hour mini version of threat training with us. So just wanted to throw that out there and see if you guys are interested in that. We'd have to extend our meeting, maybe start at 6, end at 9. Or we could wait until next year and get it at the front end of all the summer events. Any thoughts?
So Deb and I talked about this a couple weeks ago, and I think it would be a very valuable effort for us to learn about this type of training, because it's our reality today, and I think for us to be better prepared if there were an incident, I would feel better, I'd feel safer knowing that we've been coached on what to do in an emergency like that. So my vote is yes, we should do this, I think, at our August meeting and extend the meeting.
I would be in favor of that.
Is everybody in agreement? Great.
All right, I'll
Good to
line
go.
up
August.
Officer Treadway for August, and we will just decide if we want him to come in first, or I think we should do our 1-hour meeting, cut it short in August if we can. Do it from 6 to 7, and then have Officer Treadway come in from 7 to 9.
So one issue with the August meeting is that it is the same night as a concert, so we would need to reschedule that meeting. I'm also going to be out of town.
So we did talk about moving it to that Thursday is what we did last year, if you guys are okay with that.
Okay,
Maybe.
I'll get with him. And that's my update, unless anybody has any questions.
So the meeting would have been August 9th, and last year we just decided to move it to a Thursday. Jeff, I think we're okay to do that, yes? Are you guys okay with August 10th, Thursday, August 10th? And Amy, you'll still be out of town? Okay.
Would you want to join remotely, maybe?
I'm sorry, Kim?
Oh, that would be really late East Coast time, forget it. Yeah,
Everybody else feel like August 10th is okay? Okay.
okay, thanks.
Is that it, Deb? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Ed, you want to do Arts Council?
Of course, love to always talk about what's going on with the Arts Council. So past events, we had a fundraiser at Mod Pizza. So thank you for all those who participated. And then we had a rock painting event at Lake Bourne Park on July 3rd. We actually had 150 people show up, which was massively impressive. As I always say, Newcastle loves their rocks. It was our painted rocks. It was a great mix of adults, a lot of kids. We called it for 10:30. People started showing up at 10, and it was pretty packed until we closed down at 12. So great event. The rocks are all sealed, and hopefully we'll go into the rock garden in the next couple of weeks. So future events. There's a Mafia murder mystery party on this Friday with the library. There's no more room, so if you didn't sign up, it's too late, unfortunately. But it should be a lot of fun. Then the week of July 13th, 15th, kind of in that time frame, We are doing a fundraiser at Frosty Barrel on the 13th. That's Thursday. Our art fair is on July 15th at the Commons, and we have a full slate of 30 artisans that are going to be showing their stuff. We have food trucks and food vendors, and we have music planned. It runs from 10 to 5. If anybody's interested in volunteering during that day, we could use some help setting up and taking down and throughout the day. So please help out with that. July 22nd, we have an Intro to Quilling event. July 24th, we have another event at the library called Fabulous Fukushimi, which is Japanese wrapping, basically. Zentangle in August, our art exhibition in September in conjunction with the September activities, that'll be on display. We're looking for entries, so if you want to submit some artwork, deadline is July 15th. And we'll have an opening night on September 6th. And then we have some other events planned throughout the rest of the end of the summer and into the fall, ending with our Songs of the Season event on December 2nd, which is our concert that we did last year at the Commons with Newcastle Elementary and some groups from Liberty High School. And we already have a few other schools lined up this year to participate in that. So that'll be a lot of fun to see the kids perform. And then in terms of projects, I mentioned the rock garden refresh. We have an RFP out for a utility box. So we're going to do a utility wrap on the corner of Newcastle Way and Cold Creek Parkway. And the deadline for that is June 30th. If you want more information on that, we have it posted on our website. And we already have a few submissions. We have in the works a little art gallery. That location yet to be determined, but it's being built currently, and so that'll go up somewhere in Newcastle. And that is pretty much everything with the Arts Council right now. So, thank you very much.
Thanks, Ed. Any questions for Ed? Oh. Amy, any updates for the chamber?
Sure thing. The next chamber event is their quarterly luncheon, which will be on Wednesday, July 12th at Aegis Gardens. It begins at 11:30 for networking, and the program will follow at noon. The price of the registration, I'm assuming it's the same as usual. You can register online at newcastle-chamber.org anytime between now and July 12th. And I'm also glad to be welcoming the chamber back to Newcastle Days. They'll be hosting the craft beer and wine garden featuring local brewery and winery.
That's great news. Any questions for Amy? Okay, general business. So our first update is from David de la Cruz, the park's 6-year CIP.
Thanks all. Hello there. My name is David de la Cruz, Parks and Trails Planner. I've got a presentation here for you all, which I should be sharing shortly. And just as a heads up before I get started, I realize I should have followed up. There were a few questions at my last presentation that came up. I just wanted to address these two questions that came up around maintenance responsibilities for two different sites, the Heemstra site as well as the Lee property that's in development. First off, the Heemstra property maintenance expectation is going to fall on the HOA. Just wanted to jump in and clarify that. And then second, the Lee property maintenance expectation is going to fall on the city. So just wanted to throw that out there. And jumping back into this park's CIP review, getting ready to present this CIP review for the next 6 years to council on July 18th. So I encourage any and all feedback, any and all questions during the presentation from here through July 18th. Really just want to leave the lines open and leave this as a discussion. So we can just jump right in. So just this is just parks, obviously. Typically, it's been presented in the past as parks and stormwater, so I'm just focusing on parks at this point, but I will have a reference to a stormwater project as I present this. So, as you all know, the City of Newcastle does have a 20-year capital facilities program. A lot of the work that's cut out for me is based off of this list that's using different priority strategies from high, medium to low. And I think there's opportunities to talk about updating the priorities as we move along with different projects, as we move closer to completion for some of the projects. So just wanted to make sure that it was clear that this is what I'm basing this presentation off of. As well as just this list, this 20-year capital facilities list is also what becomes the basis for Parks and Trails impact fees. So, as you all know, the 2023 adopted budget, mostly just focusing on the expenditures down at P004 through P028. So just doing a high-level overview of all of these things, what to expect in the next year, in 2024, and then what we project out toward 2029. So I won't focus too much on revenue at the moment, but that's a conversation we can continue to have and we can leave open as we progress. So generally, some of the changes that you'll notice to the 2023 Parks Capital Budget, you'll notice that for P004, there's a few different options that we have for how to spend down those funds set aside in the budget. Some of them include playground replacement at Heritage Morgan Park. We've gotten some C-Click-Fix requests that have just talked about how in disrepair the two different playgrounds are here. We're looking at tennis court resurfacing at Lake Boren Park. We're most likely going to focus on this for next year. There's some cracks that need to get repaired, some general pressure washing that needs to happen based on some comments that I did get during the inventory from you all. There's also just that we want to think through is the Hazelwood Boardwalk replacement. That's a really high priority project that has come up. Initially, we thought about this project as kind of a maintenance repair, but we realized this is just going to take a lot more effort. And we are thinking about the funds set aside in this P004 budget to just help us start off with design. Some other options that we want to think through for the next couple of years are a restroom building at the historic park at the Lee property. So in the developer agreement, it's been agreed or it's been set aside that we would have a foundation built by the developers, but we would have to think about what facility is there, whether it's a sani can, and I'll talk through some different alternatives and general pricing. So additionally, some other changes you'll see to P005. This year, we expect to go slightly over budget on this refresh of the trail bollard efforts happening across the city. So you'll see new bollards being installed, new signs being installed. This is all being done by through contract work with Julie Casada, the former, my predecessor. She's done a photograph inventory, and just kind of understanding the conditions of all of the different signs that need to be replaced, new bollards that need to be added into the trail system. So that's a really exciting effort that we hope to wrap up by the end of this year. Ideally, other potential projects that may become their own, we would create their own numbers for them, similar to Hazelwood Boardwalk up there at P004. Related to trails, I wanted to talk about the May Creek Suspension Bridge. That's something that has been coming up off and on for a while. And so this isn't in the 2023 budget, but it has been in previous 6-year capital facilities plan. So just wanted to bring that to your attention and clarify that we will eventually start to look for funding for this suspension bridge as priorities may shift as we complete different projects. And then lastly, wanted to talk through the alignment at May Creek. This stormwater project that isn't funded at the moment. We were, I think earlier in the year, we were talking about building a bridge in that area, and initially it was thought of as doing a trail route that did some switchbacks and kind of was basically rerouting a direct connection along the May Creek. So just wanted to clarify that this is something that's in the works, and if there are changes to that alignment in the trail, and so just wanted to leave that there as something that we're thinking through. But this is obviously down the line in the future beyond 2024. And then-
Debbie, can you take a quick
Yes,
question?
absolutely.
The May Creek Suspension Bridge, where will that go?
Yeah, so great question. The suspension bridge, the intention is to connect into King County trail systems, and that would be just kind of an ongoing conversation. We're still working with King County and Renton to identify where they lie in prioritizing this area and developing this area for trails. They have submitted a grant to develop trails closer to the 405 that connect into the May Creek. And so just thinking about ways that we can support that connection and build it out and connect into the May Creek Trail to support regional trail network connectivity. And so specifically it would be connecting near the Wintry area. There's some potential to connect, I wouldn't know exactly, I mean, I can point at it in a map, but I may not have a map here. But generally, really close to the Wintry in the southern portion of May Creek.
Down by Bartram Station, right? Or sorry, down by where the railroad trestle is, further down where you can like go down to the creek, is that?
It's right where there's a Boy Scout little kiosk.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Trail stops, it would just,
Yes, good point. There's some switchbacks that lead you down into May Creek, really close to Wintry, generally in that area. There's overlooks and yeah, there's general area set aside, could be kind of shifted and changed if needed. But the other change that I'd like to point to is P006. That's another one we'd just like to refresh and update you all on, and clarify that we want to look for additional funding potentially for a regional sports park at the 95th site. Right now it's being used as general staging for the Energize Eastside project, as well as some general maintenance facility work. But the idea here is to integrate a stormwater facility with the regional sports complex, as well as some sort of uses for maintenance, just to help bridge some gaps in terms of level of service for that area of Newcastle. So new addition to the list of capital improvement projects for the next couple of years. So any questions here before I move on? Nope.
I'm not familiar with the location of the last one.
Yeah, so that's southern portion of Newcastle, right at basically across from the Bartram stations. You would be able to see it from, yeah, let me just, can I get that? If it's okay with you all, I'm just gonna go ahead and jump into Google Maps briefly to make it very clear, but it is, yes, you take the bridge that takes you into Renton, and that would,
I can do it for you if you like, or
yes, that would. Yes, that's right, Honey Creek. If you see a map of the city, it's basically the largest property on the southern portion of the city of Newcastle.
right here.
The bridge is to the east.
Are you talking about the bridge or the park? The park. Yeah, this is 95th Way right here.
Yes.
So it's this property right here.
So when you say a sports park, what's maybe some of the options?
I mean, at the moment, I think early feasibility studies from 2016 have thought about integrating baseball, soccer, and potentially football. But I mean, that's still to be determined. We would still bring on a consultant to do some studies on what's possible there, and based on.
Can I put in my vote for pickleball courts? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, and Jeff is pulling up this feasibility report that was prepared sometime in 2009 with a general layout of baseball courts, softball courts, little league fields, and a system of trails at the southern portion. I think there's opportunities here to think about phasing of building out this site, starting off with trails just to bring people to use this area a little bit more and call attention to the area as we think through additional engagement that may need to happen to just identify priorities for what could be here.
If you're interested, on the website here, you can just go to, if you're on the Newcastle website, click documents right here, and then community planning, and then it's right there.
I'm assuming that's city-owned property.
Yes.
And so the reason it goes on, but it's going back on the Parks Capital plan is so that then, once it's on the plan, you can seek grant funding and that sort of thing.
No worries. Yes, so the idea here is so that it's clear to, as we do apply for grant funding, that it's clear that it is in our capital facilities and capital improvement project list, and it becomes just clear to folks reviewing our grant applications that we're planning for it for years to come. Yeah, it makes it more competitive, definitely. Okay, and moving on to this next one. So you'll also notice that there is a range of possibilities to move forward from after we finish up the boardwalk at for P22, and just continuing with the master plan implementation of Lake Bourne Park efforts. This is a report from 2016 that kind of shows us what possible next steps or next phases we can take on. At the moment, we've been focusing on the amphitheater and Newcastle Plaza, thinking about them as one. We did submit a grant application for some funds for design and preliminary construction for the amphitheater. The next step may be the off-leash dog area, and depending on priorities and depending on community interest, thinking about a skate park or some sort of skate area for Lake Bourne Park is a possibility. And then you will notice that P27 was removed. This is something I've brought up in the past. Just not
I'm sorry, Dev, can we go back for 1 second? So the skate park, I thought that was scratched.
I mean, it may have been scratched. I'm basing most of why I'm bringing this up from just range of input from community members in the master plan report. It's one of the kind of lower priority items that hasn't been kind of a high priority just because the boardwalk was more important, the dock was more important, the off-leash dog area and the amphitheater were higher. And so basically the skate park is kind of the next thing on the list once that's all done. As far as it being completely scratched and removed, I haven't seen anything like that. But this is just to bring up conversation and to see whether or not this is an interest in the community. And lastly, you will see for next year, P29 will be added, Hazelwood Boardwalk efforts in general. Just as you all know, there's just additional effort that will need to happen, which will mean that we need to create a separate project for Hazelwood Boardwalk. So additional changes, you'll notice that P12 wasn't in the 2023 Parks capital budget, but it was in the 2022 capital budget, and so it's just a matter of bringing it in and moving those funds towards to spend down in 2023 and 2024. And also other changes and in terms of schedule and in terms of budget are for the P22 boardwalk, which you all may have heard. We're expecting construction to start very soon, midsummer, and have as little to no impact to the upcoming events. So really excited to get that moving. And then an updated need that I just wanted to clarify for P28. We expect the dock repairs that are coming up. We do have a contract with an engineer that's supporting us with general specifications for specific performance of that will help the dock just be floating again, have the right kind of anchors and the right kind of hardware to just get in a structurally integral facility for people to use it. And other focus areas that we may have in 2024 will be updates to cosmetic issues that the dock has and other kind of decking repairs that may be needed. So I was hoping to have that be a general overview, and then this would jump in and start to give you the nitty-gritty where needed on what costs might look like in the next couple of years. I mentioned Heritage Morgan Park. We do have grant funding set aside from King County that was recently granted to us that may help us support a portion of the renovations here at Heritage Morgan Park. I'm hoping to get in touch with the local HOA to just identify priorities and really think through what would make sense here. But we're looking at spending somewhere between 15 to 20 for a play structure. Lake Boren Park, the resurfacing may cost somewhere closer to 15,000, and then thinking about some of the restroom facility options at the Lee property. And this isn't obviously to spend next year or in the next 2 years, but just kind of thinking through when the right moment would be. There are a few options, just kind of doing some early research on one stall restroom facility that's prefabricated and has basic furnishings, may cost somewhere around 75,000 versus a compostable restroom facility, which may need a little bit less maintenance and maybe a little bit easier to work with, around the same price of 75,000. And then another option is similar to what we have at Donegal Park, just putting in a temporary ADA Sani can, which would cost somewhere around 3,600 a year. And so just looking at the different options, I think, in my opinion, I think an option around the compostable restroom facility, there's some pretty unique options offered that have been approved by the Department of Health at the state of Washington not only meet health code, but are just really well designed, really well made, and don't have any issues with odors. And there's some really cool options there just to think about ways to integrate sustainability into the parks that are being renovated or created for the city. And some potential projects coming up for trail development. Generally, I just mentioned the trail bollard refresh, but some other upcoming projects that we have with Newcastle Trails through just volunteer efforts are paying some attention to the horse trail. We do have some volunteer efforts planned for late summer and doing some early route finding really close to the May Creek roundabout. Working closely with the HOA at Park Ridge 3 to build the connection between the new Timber Creek Trail that should be unveiled once construction is over in that Timber Creek area, to connect into the Highlands Trail. So that'll be a really unique and important connection to make. And then other potential projects that we have working on with Newcastle Trails are some route finding for China Creek Trail. And so we have a ton of a running list of potential projects with Newcastle Trails that we're creating, and priorities just kind of being set aside. So happy to share this early list with you all and just really think through some of the things that might be higher priority in the coming years. So I did have kind of a aerial screenshot view of the 95th site. I won't go into too much detail, but the goal here would be to ideally start to work on getting a consultant to support with some feasibility studies and preliminary design sometime in 2024, 2025, whenever is the most appropriate. We think that might cost somewhere around 400K, but this is just kind of a high level number to think about and put into the capital facilities plan for the next couple of years. So for this year, we're looking at the cemetery fence replacement that should be done ideally by mid next year, if not sooner. And the goal here is to replace up to 700 feet of fence at the north and eastern portion of the cemetery. We want to have that vehicle or that main entry. We don't want to change that. We want to keep that there, and we also want to add a pedestrian entry. Two options. We have flagged an entry through the waterline trail, and I'm pushing for a second option of having an entry through the trail that we have to the north instead, and making sure that that meets ADA and can get you to the plateau of the cemetery. So we're working with the volunteer parties today, or not today, but these days, to clear that area, make sure that there's no potential graves in that area, so that we can build a trail that can get people to at least that plateau area in the cemetery. In general, the fence height, we want to get it pretty low. Ideally, we would go up to 5 feet, but looking at different options and figuring out what would make the most sense. But yeah, that's just an example of what a pedestrian entry might look like. And the pickets, we would get steel pickets with this design. So you may see just kind of a construction notice sign there today. And once we do choose the contractor, they'll put their name there. But I'll go ahead and move on to other projects. Doing a quick deeper dive just to show you all what the amphitheater might look like. This is from 2016, not a lot of detail, very high level, just kind of showing you all what the potential is here for kind of a stage and this very gently sloping terraced area here. It's just kind of leaning on what's the existing condition in this area. So I think this is a pretty exciting project to think about for the next couple of years. We have submitted a grant for this amphitheater effort, so just really excited to hear back, hopefully next month.
Can I ask a quick question? So,
Yes, absolutely.
and you may be answering it right now. So the stage would stay if we add the amphitheater as well?
Once the amphitheater is added, the stage would be removed. At the moment, the stage just has limited remaining life. It takes a lot to get it ready each year, and the goal here is to lessen the maintenance inputs as much as possible with a rehab stage that can just think through how to reduce maintenance costs over time.
I'm just trying to think through for future Newcastle days when we do have the craft and beer garden. And would it be near the amphitheater kind of setting so that people would be able to sit and enjoy a cold drink while listening to our great bands? Or, you know, what we might just need to be thinking about what the future looks like without the stage, right? As the beer garden location will come into play.
You could also rent a stage for event-specific things if necessary, if there wasn't a natural, obvious place to put the beer garden. You could have 2 performance stages, like Lollapalooza, small scale.
Well, I'm just thinking, can you go back a slide? So looking at the proposal of where the amphitheater is going to be, would there be room to put a tent with, you know, how we set up the beer garden for Newcastle days, or would there not be room? That's a question.
Because this is so high level, I do think that we can put it in the plan as it gets developed to make sure that there is room for that use. This is so conceptual that as we continue to give it more detail and bringing up conversations around how it's used for those annual events. I think we can make it to what community members would want to ask for. Yeah, definitely. So, in short, yes, absolutely.
And if I could add to that too, this was discussed when this whole master plan was developed back in 2016 and 17, and so there were discussions about how that could be facilitated. So either up to the west, or to the in the area where it says 1,000 square feet. There's opportunities to do this.
And is the thought that the amphitheater is just terraced ground?
Yes.
There's no permanent seating, no.
No, that's mostly rock. So depending on something either terraced or benched or something like that.
Okay. So okay.
Basically, yet to be determined.
Okay.
Okay, I covered this, so I'm just gonna keep moving. So, as I mentioned a little bit more about a next potential project that we can focus on after the amphitheater is the off-leash area. One of the areas that has been identified as a higher priority versus to the west. This area near the wetland, near the creek, is just potentially a better option for an off-leash area that's away from housing and housing development. So yeah, just thinking about preliminary construction cost as well as early design cost to make sure that this is feasible. We have some kind of general numbers that we'll include and that you'll see in the chart that I showed towards the end. So as I mentioned a little more about P28, we do have a design and engineering contract with a firm to prepare performance specifications at $55K. We expect the additional construction rehab to be closer to $80K, so this may go slightly over budget, but we are thinking through and finding grants to help offset these costs that may put us over budget. And so you'll notice P29, mentioned that earlier. This will be a new project that we add to the capital improvement project list. We estimate preliminary design can cost somewhere to closer to $120, and preliminary construction estimates would be somewhere closer to $350. This is based on previous construction bids for the China Creek Trail, which we want to emulate as much as possible, something similar to that meets ADA concerns, that addresses just modernization issues with this area, and making sure that we can just upgrade our facilities where we can, and focus on that connectivity between that portion of the city to Lake Bourne Park. So this is a really important crosstown trail connection. And a little more about the May Creek suspension bridge. Generally, this map shows us where the potential site is. In the capital facilities plan from 2020, this was identified as a high priority site. So just having that conversation, having that discussion on the level of priority is really important. And building out this suspension bridge just would improve regional connections, regional trail connections in the system across King County and across Renton. So, and everything I just discussed, this is a summary of what it all looks like and how it plays out in the next 6 years through 2029. And I'll make sure that this presentation is available to you all for just ongoing conversations, ongoing discussions as we get ready for July 18th. And I will end it there. Most other slides here are just reference materials from previous years on how this was all put together. So this is all just kind of historic information. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Open to any questions if you all have them. I'll close this out as well. Yeah, absolutely. Let me make this bigger as well. And so, as I mentioned, just as a heads up, no changes have been made to the bottom portion, that revenue portion. Still updating that. I think there's a lot of inputs that could be added in terms of additional grants that we'll be pursuing from now until 2029. So that's still just kind of in flux and in the works through the next council meeting.
The Parks and Trails impact fee, the $1 million in 2024. What is that? 1.1 million.
This one there, 1.1. I don't actually. Can you take that?
So all new development, either residential or multifamily apartments, condos, pay two impact fees. They pay a transportation impact fee and a Parks and Trails impact fee. The Parks and Trail, both of those are calculated. There's an impact fee study that looks at future needs to accommodate growth, and then what projects are necessary and what that cost is, and then it divides that cost amongst the anticipated number of new units. The last impact fee studies were done in 2020. And so if you look at the council calendar materials from early 2020, you'll find that there. I believe the current park impact fee rate is about $5,000 or $6,000 per unit, and the transportation impact fee, I believe, is maybe $8,000 or $9,000. It could be $12,000. Those are both adjusted annually based on that Seattle area construction cost index.
So that's based on, it's paid one time.
Yes, it's paid at building permit. So they do not vest. So if somebody applies for a permit today, they will, and they don't pull their building permit till 2024, they'll pay the rates in effect in 2024.
So what do we anticipate in 2024 that's $1.1 million versus the lower number in the subsequent years?
I'm sorry, what was your question?
So it's $1.1 million in 2024, but then it drops down to
Right, 'cause
200,000, 100,000.
Right, it's based on the anticipated number of new units. So there's a bunch of units coming online right now, like about 200 single-family units. So that's where there's that surge of funding right there.
Got it. So
And
that
then-
would be the Lee property, the Heemster property, that those once they hit.
More
Final
like,
vote.
yes, right.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Davi? Okay. Davi, thank you very much.
Appreciate your time, everybody. Thank you.
Okay, under General Business 8.2, Amy, Newcastle Days Working Committees, and I'd like to ask a favor. So, at our July meeting, we will have, again, a full commission. Do we need to actually assign those tonight? Could we wait till July so we have all commissioners on board?
So, yes, we do need to assign these tonight because we need to start working on them right away. I did take the time to meet with Connie, our new commissioner, because while she won't be sworn in until our July meeting, she is able to work as a resident. So she and I met and she gave me some preferences of where she'd like to work. Where I don't have input because I am unaware of anybody being appointed to serve in Deb's position in light of her resignation to take on her role. But these are things we need to get started on like last week. So even if we don't have.
Let's move forward then.
Okay.
Got it. Thank you.
I appreciate the ask, but as I could see from Deb's expression.
Well, no, and I'm glad you've already had a chance to get with Connie, so that's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Deb, you overpromised a wonderful Newcastle Days update from me, but I really don't have much to add in addition to what's in the report that she provided. I do want to thank everybody, particularly Jeff and Deb, for stepping up to make us be in a very different place than we were in May. If you remember, in May, very little had been done with Newcastle Days. And that was shortly after Alexa had resigned after the medical leave, so we were really having to do a lot of work in a very short period of time. So thank you both to Deb and Jeff, because it was a lot of work to get to the place that you see in the meeting packet tonight. All of your favorites are coming back, including the car show. We've added more inflatables. We have, the junk chime coming back, the petting zoo, the pony rides. We are actually having to turn away people from the stage. We have so many performers who want to showcase at our event. As far as vendor booths, we are already more than 50% to our target number, and our early bird deadline hasn't even come. So very exciting developments. And along those lines, I am happy to report that we are going to experiment a little this year. As you know, the tennis courts are a funky space. We have tried different things with the tennis courts at Newcastle Days in the past. The sports inflatables, the little carnival games are gone, and that's why we have a fourth giant inflatable where the demand is. The robotics teams have really given it their all to try to bring people down, but we have moved them to the upper picnic shelters so that they get more traffic and get more interaction with our public. So this is really not my idea. This was a brainchild of Deb and Ed to put an arts fair down in that space. This is, from a vendor booth point of view, is going to free up a lot of space on the grass for our sponsors, for our local companies, for our foods, for our nonprofits, and then give a very dedicated, warm, comfy space to our handcrafts and artists. And it has been a dream to kind of create a space for these folks. So we're going to give it a go and see how it goes. We are very excited to make this work, and that plays very much into our working committees. Now, as you know, Deb is working on is working part-time on this, and so she does need a lot of support from the commission, above and beyond than what is typically done for Newcastle Days. And that's why I have sought to create some working committees for folks who are interested in providing that volunteer support. And hopefully these are ways that we can also engage members of our community to help with some of our planning as well. So in the packet, I outlined the different committees that I would like to establish. And if you have an interest in working on one of these committees, to raise your hand and let me know. We do have to be mindful that no more than 3 commissioners at a time. So if it's one of the working committees that I'm a part of, we can only have 2 commissioners. Although if it's one of the working committees that Deb would kind of lead, we have a little bit more flexibility. So with that, I'd like to talk, we have the Booths Committee. So this I would be leading. These are folks who would be assisting in recruiting vendors, which is an easy job right now, and then helping to determine which applicants we decide to accept. We would advise how we might want to lay out the vendors, and we would also make a point of connecting with the vendors on the day of. This is where, if you're interested in supporting the art fair, this is where the arts fair would come up. So do I have any commissioners who are interested in working on this particular committee with me? And Connie has expressed an interest in this committee. And it's okay to say no, by the way. Right, so the Entertainment Stage Working Committee is one that Deb is really taking the lead on. This is kind of a thing that's near and dear to her. We don't need to help determine which acts are accepted, really, because The work has pretty much been done for us, but these volunteers would help in drafting a stage schedule, might help Deb with the MC script. Most importantly, this committee is going to be the group of people who serve as stage director for half a day. And we would be getting a volunteer assistant to help you as a stage director. So do I have any commissioners who are interested in working on that? Okay, Nathan. Outstanding. Marketing and promo. So again, this is one that Deb is going to take the lead on. This is helping to execute her plan to market and promote Newcastle Days and maybe some of the summer concerts. These might include writing copy, designing flyers, making videos, and maybe even live posting. I mean, it's pretty much whatever support Deb would need to execute her marketing and promo plan. Are there any commissioners who would like to help with that? Okay, Kim and Shali, you're on. Outstanding. All right. The parade, this is one that I would be leading because this is really a CAC effort versus a city effort. If we want the parade to happen as a commission, we are the ones who need to make it happen. So the parade working committee would define what the vision for the parade is going to be, recruit and communicate with the participants, and then help to execute day of. Do we have commissioners interested in working on the parade? Okay. And if we don't have a commissioner step up as a number 2 to support you, this would be a good one to consider. We had a community member last year who was really helpful, if you remember. That would be a great way to pull somebody in. Awesome. Okay, so volunteers. The working committee would keep track of the needs and help Deb recruit, help communicate expectations to the volunteers, work with Deb to design the volunteer t-shirts, and help prepare any check-in materials. Do I have any commissioners interested in working on the volunteer working committee? Okay, cool. And then the week of...
I'm sorry, Amy, who raised her hand?
Oh, Shali.
Shelley?
The week of celebration, and again, like the parade, if this is going to happen, this is a CAC effort versus a city effort. So we will certainly have Deb's support on this, but this is really for us to define what is that vision for that week. And how would we like to execute? We do already have one event scheduled. The softball game is scheduled. So hopefully we will have a week of, otherwise we're just having a softball game.
We have an art show opening, right?
And we have an art show opening. Outstanding. Well, it's already coming together.
We also have, the Scullies want to do pickleball.
And that's
So there's
right.
3 events, and then we could potentially ask the chamber to do another murder mystery this year. So
Yep.
it's kind of making itself complete already.
Do we have commissioners interested in working on this working committee? And Connie has expressed an interest on this one. Ed raised his hand.
Who's heading up that?
That
Amy?
would be me.
That's you. And what about the volunteers?
That would probably be me as well.
Okay.
I think, that'll depend on Deb's time.
Quick question on the volunteers. Were Patty able to get us that list? Yeah. Okay, perfect.
Okay, so I will, obviously this is in the minutes, but I will also send this out to the commission, and then you should start hearing from me and or Deb about, getting together in small groups, having certain responsibilities come up sooner rather than later. Obviously the parade we might want to start thinking about, but the heavy lifting doesn't happen until August. Whereas some of the marketing and promo stuff, you're going to see earlier rather than later. Thank you, everybody. Does anybody have any questions on, I went through this really quickly in the interest of time.
I don't think so, not for me, but I just want to say, good job. Thank you to both of you for all this great work.
Well, thanks to the commission. I mean, Deb and I are realizing how much we are contributing to making this happen, you know, above and beyond what has been done in prior years. So it's really a credit to all of you as well.
Good job. Thank you. All right, next under general business, we've got 8.3, event sponsorship. So Ed and I will give you guys a quick update. As of today, we have collected checks in hand, $43,500. Our goal was $58,025. We are going to fall short of that goal of about $14,000 because there are several sponsors that Ed and I reached out to that unfortunately will not be able to support us this year. So I do have assurances from Jeff that we are good to go as far as monies for the budget. And I think the work that Ed and I have done, and Amy, of course, has been commemorable considering the late start that we had. But we've gotten some really, really great feedback from a lot of the sponsors from last year, and again, wanting to be a part of it this year. And most of them are super excited about the 4th of July being on July 1st, being on a Saturday, because we'll be the only city, probably in Washington, that's having a 4th of July on the 1st. I did hear that Paulsbo is on July 2nd. So people are now starting to plan that they can go to different cities on different days and enjoy lots of fireworks coming up. So Ed and I are not done yet. The deadline is Friday. And even with a deadline, we know that if we can still get some late monies in, we will still pursue those. So, and we're still waiting for a few more people to get back to us. Ed, anything to add?
No, just to point out that, to reiterate what you said, is we've gotten a great response from the community. And as you said, particularly around the 4th of July celebration, people are excited that we're bringing that back. So.
And for everybody's knowledge, on our SharePoint site, our 2023 sponsorship Excel file is up to date and has basically, if the money has been received, if the sponsor applications have been received, and more importantly, the booths. So at some point, we will make sure that they are given to both of you to make sure that we've got a list of confirmed, these are the people that want a booth, along with the vendors. Okay.
Yeah, and along with the 4th of July, some people were really excited about the car show too. So I'm glad we're bringing that back this year as well.
Thanks to Jeff on the car show. Okay. 8.4, I think, will be a very quick agenda item. It was the park inventory. I just wanted to make sure that, we had all signed up for, I think, pairing up with each other to go out and do the park inventory and get that information back to Dovey by June 4th, I believe it was, or something like that. And I just want to make sure that we all got him his feedback.
Happy to take any additional feedback if you all send it if beyond the deadline. It's just a work in progress, and always happy to hear from you all.
So I guess what I'm hearing is if you haven't had a chance to do it, please try and get it to him. It would be appreciated. Okay.
And then what are next steps with that? Are you going to come back with a summary of findings?
Yeah, so I've been compiling all of that into a large sheet that can help me prepare a profile for each park. And ideally, getting this input was also going to help me put together the CIP and just make sure I'm focusing on the right things based on the input that you all have from things that are near term, things that are long term, and the big vision ideas. So ideally, yeah, I would come back with a summary for you all. And you would also hear about the information that I collected from the maintenance team, which they did an inventory as well earlier in the year. So you'll just see what we're focusing on.
Okay, thank you. And last, under general business, 8.5, new commissioner update. So I think you've already heard Amy mention Connie Forsberg is our new commissioner, and she's on vacation right now, or she would have been here tonight, but she has been approved by council. So Connie will be here at our next meeting in July, and our other opening has been accepted and will be approved by, hopefully, by council Tuesday. We don't see any reason why it won't be. And so once council gives their confirmation on Tuesday, that will be live. So Amy, I'm thinking after Tuesday, I'll put you in touch with our new commissioner, and we can start getting, hopefully, them signed up for some volunteer work. Okay, moving right along. Additional public comment. Do we have anybody? No surprise. Okay. Last thing I have is on our planning calendar. So our next meeting, July meeting, we will swear in our 2 new commissioners. We'll also hold our election for the chair and vice chair. And I wanted to, Jane and I have already talked about some options to do that and wanted to get your guys' feedback. The best way to hold an election, we've done it a couple ways. So we did a silent ballot a few years back, I believe, where we all get a form, we put in our candidates, and then we hand them in, and the city clerk tallies them up, and we decide if we have a unanimous vote, or we can do a nomination, a motion, and then a nomination and a second. Do you guys have any preference? The nomination, to me, seems the simplest. Somebody would simply nominate somebody, have a motion to second it, we'd all say in favor aye, and then it's done. Do the motion? Like that? Okay, we'll go with the motion option. If there's nothing further, does anybody have anything else to bring up? Jeff? Tavi? No? Well, then I will call this meeting adjourned. Just did a meeting recap that I would then send to the city clerk Thursday by 11.
That works.